Hey guys, welcome back. So this week's conversation is that on cancer, and it's a topic that I cover in this course because if you have not been personally affected by it, you know someone that has been, and it's something that we have to be really sensitive to as far as how we handle these things and then how we even understand it from a biological perspective. I believe God's a healer, and I wish I understood why He chooses to heal some people and not others, or why He chooses to give some people cancer and not others. However, there are some scientific background points that we need to understand and how this comes about, and how it will arise in an individual. So first things first, we know from last week that if we have a set of cells and they have these checkpoints, they're supposed to undergo this growth and this cell division by normal regulatory processes. But sometimes those cells somewhat become savage and they grow out of control. And that out of control growth is known as cancer. It's just how it's defined. It just means any cell that's growing out of control. It's not paying attention anymore to its checkpoints. It's doing whatever it wants to do. And this idea of out of control cell growth creates a problem for the human body because these cells will then take up residency. They'll start feeding off of other tissues. They take nutrients, they take blood, and they kind of get in the way. And what they will end up producing is something called a tumor. And you've probably seen that. So we start with one cell and they grow and they grow and they grow and they multiply. And then you get this protrusion somewhere on the body. Maybe you've seen that physically on the external of someone's body. Maybe you've just seen it on an x-ray or a CT scan, something like that. But regardless, this tumor, there's going to be a couple of different types that we're going to discuss. So think of it, first of all, as a mass of out of control cell growth. Okay, that means cancer. And the mass can be benign. Benign is the term there. And benign means that you are contained. You're a set of cells that are contained. These are actually defined to be non-cancerous, or a non-cancerous tumor. And the reason that they consider it that is because it's not going to spread. It's going to stay in that one spot. Typically, a doctor can go in and surgically remove that out away without it causing any trouble to the human body. It's usually no big deal. It's still cancer because of the cells that are going out of control, but they're not going to spread anywhere else. If by chance you have a cancer that spreads, that means you have a cancer that is undergoing metastasis or metastasizing. This idea of metastasis means that those cells are going to migrate or move to different parts of the body. So let's just say you've got a set of liver cells that are going out of control. You've got liver cancer. It's possible that those cells will then start moving through the blood and travel to maybe the spine, or maybe the brain, or maybe the stomach, or the colon, somewhere else in the human body, and they can stick there and then start their own little colony of cancerized cells. This one is the one that is really problematic for doctors, because if you can't find the cells, okay, because you don't know where they are until they start growing and growing and growing, they could be anywhere. And once they start growing on a patient, because it's the metastasizing kind, they can't control it. And that's a real sad point for a human body to be in, because our treatments then have to correspond to the type of cancer. And in this case, if you have the metastasizing type of cancer, you're going to have to undergo a couple of different things. Typically, they'll start you on a treatment plan called chemotherapy, and chemotherapy is putting in a set of chemicals, injecting them into the body, and those chemicals will then go out and try to kill off the cancer cells that have metastasized and are all over the body. But that chemotherapy has a lot of different side effects, and a lot of times patients will be frustrated with the side effects because you're going to have a really suppressed immune system. You may lose your hair. You're going to be very sick for a while, be very tired for a while, and it's a hard thing to go through, to be honest. The other type would be radiation or radioactive therapy. At that point, you're using radioactive lights and different things to allow for basically the burning away of those cells. Now, this one can physically cause burns on the superficial portion of the skin. You may see some similar effects there as well. You'll be sick. You'll have potentially loss of hair, all of that. with these, I oftentimes have students ask me, well, what does the body normally do? What kind of actions does the body take to take care of this on its own? And the body has some natural responses. It has tumor suppressor cells where your body, if it recognizes, hey, these guys are growing out of control, we'll just try to stop it and kill them off. They also have natural killer cells. And natural killer cells is their actual name. Will go out and they're kind of like snipers, and they're just looking for cells like this that are growing that way. And when they do, they snipe them, they kill them off. So you've got a couple of mechanisms. The problem with these checkpoints or these cells is that they often can't keep up. So we know that cancer is out of control cell growth. Well, it's just hard to keep up. Once those cells start growing, the human body, oftentimes the natural responses that it has, does not have the ability to keep up with those cells that are growing that way. So it's pretty much a sad kind of situation. And you could talk all day. You could read thing after thing after thing about, what causes cancer and what are we doing about it and all of those kind of things. However, I would say that there is not a ton of consistent data about that. Now, I'm not saying go do whatever you want and, all that kind of thing. However, I am saying that to live your life not partaking in doing anything, not going out in the sun, or not, eating a tomato that you bought at the grocery store would be kind of crazy, in my opinion, only because, we think some things may lead to it, we think some things may not, and you can make yourself crazy. I had a professor in my graduate degree who said, if you live long enough, you'll probably end up with cancer. And one reason that she says that is because of the way cells mutate. So the longer we live and the older we get, our body just kind of breaks down. It's a sad thing, but it's true. And so, your body does crazy things and it forgets to do checkpoints, and you've got cells that don't grow when they're supposed to and cells that grow out of control when they're not supposed to. And that's just life. And so I checked her ideology there for a while, but it makes sense. And so as sad as it is a possibility. And so in any case, cancer here, nothing to be afraid of. It is just a reality that many people, have to deal with, and many of us may deal with at some point. But scientifically, I wanted you to understand what was going on with how these cells are working. I'm going to have you do a video and then look at some cancer research for me today. And what I love about cancer research is it's constantly changing the face of what's going on in our world today. Billions and billions of dollars are being poured into learning how these cells react and how they respond and how they behave in all these different circumstances. And it is an effective thing. If you've known somebody with cancer, perhaps they've had a new treatment that's worked for them. And I hope we do. I hope we find, some type of breakthrough, treatment at some point in our future. And that would be wonderful. And if you read anything about it, you'll find new technologies where they're putting little nano molecules inside the human body, and they're actually finding these cells and killing them off. It's just unbelievable what we're able to do. It's just very, very expensive, which is why you don't see it being played out in everyday hospitals yet. We may get to that point. Just to clear the air, I had somebody tell me one time, the reason we don't have all these new therapies in the hospitals is because the government is keeping them from us. And you may be a conspiracy theorist if you want to be. However, coming from what I know about the research, if there was some type of a breakthrough treatment, we would be using it. The problem is that every human body is a little bit different, and environment plays a role and genetics plays a role, and we can't cheaply make some of these things, even if they are breaking through and they've got this great new technology that's working for this patient. It's very, very expensive to use across the board. And so they're working on it. And hopefully we do get to a point at some day in the future where we've got things that work for every patient on every level, on every cancer type, and every mutation type. So don't feel like the world's keeping it from you. Billions of dollars are being poured in and they're working on it. But to create nanomolecules or to create, a trial that works for every patient just hasn't quite been done yet. So we're praying it comes about, and we're praying God, has mercy on us as we go through these trials and different things. And so that's the science of cancer. I hope you guys enjoyed this little conversation. Hang tight, look into your assignments, and you'll see what's coming next. Have a good day, guys.